caught COVID in April 2022,
Right.
and that's when it kind of started. And I think my body was actually pretty robust. I recovered fairly okay-ish, and then I just got sick over and over again, which actually led me to then be bedbound and not be able to leave the house. I had crazy brain fog. I did not recognize myself anymore. Other than that, I was just pain. My headaches were insane to the point that I just went to the doctor and was like, "Can you please prescribe me something to just make me feel better?"
Wow.
And then the third one that crept in really late, I think actually, was just insomnia. And if you don't have insomnia, you don't know how much of a hellhole that is. It's crazy. Just 2 nights of horrible sleep made me question my life, and it's insane.
Hey everyone, it's Toby Morrison from CFS Health. In today's interview, we are doing a success recovery story with the amazing Annina K. Hey Annina, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm very good. I am so stoked to be here to share your recovery story and journey with chronic fatigue syndrome. This is special. It's special for me because I've watched you go from basically living, reality of hell and suffering, and to watch you blossom into the young lady you are today, and just what you're doing, not just with your work and the impact that you have in the world, but just the person you've become. I'm really, really proud of that, and I'm really excited to share your entire story because more people need to know that recovery is possible from chronic fatigue syndrome, and particularly when you've gone from complete pain, isolation, suffering to thinking that is recovery even possible, to going traveling around the world, to surfing. I think it was in Portugal you went, to doing your PhD and doing cancer research. It's a pretty mind blowing story. Um, So I want to go back to the start. Like when this all happened, when you kind of got sick with chronic fatigue syndrome, this was before we met. I'm curious to know, like, what was going on in Anina's world back then.
Mm. I feel like when it first hit me, I just moved to Denmark. I just started my PhD, actually. I just tried to find my foot in a different world, right? I just moved to like a new country. I tried to make new friends. I tried to have an exercise routine. I just tried to get it all under one. Uh, I just tried to find my place in Copenhagen while
Mm.
also trying to learn a new language, a new work environment. The pressure of just
Well, that sounds kind.
starting with PhD. Yeah, I mean, I think it was quite a busy period, and I felt there was so much pressure, or like I put a lot of pressure on myself of getting it all done the quickest I can, and yeah.
Did you have like glandular fever or like a virus or anything like that?
Yeah, I caught COVID in April 2022, and that's when it kind of started. Yeah.
Okay, this makes sense. And so if you couple that with the pressure that you had, the stress, do you think that was the kind of the cause of it all? Like getting the virus and then on top of the stress, the physical and the emotional stress that you were going through at the time?
I think it was for sure part of it. Yes. I do think because I felt the pressure of returning back to work quite early, like I came back to work too early. And I think my body was actually pretty robust. I recovered fairly okay-ish, and then I just got sick over and over again, which actually led me to then be bedbound and not be able to leave the house. But I think it was definitely the pressure of me just wanting to go back to where I was at that just was not helpful. It,
Yeah.
yeah.
Would you say you're a type A personality, like a high achiever? Or were back then, at least, were back then?
I do think so. Yes. In a lot of ways, I am and I was. I th- I think I didn't notice how much I was a type A until I got really sick. Because then you can't achieve a lot. You can't do a lot. You can't have a lot of friends. You can't be successful in that sense. And I think then I realized I actually do tie a lot of my worth to what I do and who I'm with and how my life looks like.
That's a pretty big awakening for a 20. How old were you at the time? I think you were, because you're 27 now, so you would have been 24.
Yes, 24.
That's a pretty big awakening to have as a 24-year-old woman finding her feet in the world.
I think so too. I mean, now I'm happy that it was that early, right? Now I get to live the rest of my life without awakening, but it was tough.
What was it like? So, you got COVID, then you did, you basically continued to get sicker and sicker and sicker. Eventually you said you were bedbound, and I think you kind of, the way you described it is kind of like the carpet was swept from underneath your feet, like you had this ideal lifestyle and image of what that looked like, and then the image was no longer your reality. What were some of the thoughts going through your mind at that time?
I think I tried to hold on so much. Like I tried to just keep that carpet underneath me however I could. I couldn't let go. Like I still went to conferences in Europe because I felt like I needed to, and I just pushed myself so much that I then after the conference in the weekend went on a hike and I felt like absolutely horrendous. But I was like, but this is what I want to do, so I better do it. Doesn't matter how I feel. I'm not gonna allow myself rest because I don't know why. Honestly, now I don't know why I didn't allow myself to rest and just let it slip away a little bit. I think I always just wanted to seize the opportunity, no matter how I felt.
Mm. And then when you said you got to that place where you were basically housebound and bedbound, what were some of the symptoms that you were experiencing? What were your main five or three?
I had crazy brain fog. I did not recognize myself anymore.
Wow.
It was always almost like I was just playing a first person video game, you know? Like I looked at my hands and I was like, these are not my hands, but I can use them. Um, Other than that, it was just pain. Like just my headaches were insane to the point that I just went to the doctor and was like, can you please prescribe me something to just make me feel better? And
Wow.
then the third one that crept in really late, I think actually, was just insomnia. And if you don't have insomnia, you don't know how much of a hellhole that is. It's crazy. It's just two nights of horrible sleep made me question my life, and it's insane.
I'm so glad you brought that up about the sleep, because there's such a misconception around chronic fatigue syndrome and sleep. Like, everyone on the outside who doesn't go through it, they're like, oh, that must be nice. You just must just sleep all the time. And, how lovely that is. But the truth is, there's a period of time through recovery where sleep actually becomes really irritable and disruptive. And so it sounds like you went through that too, where were you sleeping during the day and then that was affecting your nighttime sleeps and all that kind of stuff? Or was it just like a blur?
I think it was just me not being able to fall asleep and just the panic of knowing what the next day would feel like if I wouldn't be able to sleep and that not letting me sleep. I think my body was just producing so much adrenaline and cortisol and whatever that just kept me up. So then I would maybe fall asleep at 7 a.m. and then I slept until 11 a.m., which of course, like my entire cycle was just all over the place. And then if I could, I would just nap during the day. And I can't even pinpoint what affected what because there was so much wrong with it.
Jeez, that's tough.
Um,
Um, in terms of friends and family, what was that like, going through that period where they know one side of Anina, the happy, pursuing, driven woman that you are? What was that like for you when things slowed down?
I think I was quite because I just had moved to Denmark. I just felt a lot of grief for the connections that I couldn't make or the connections that I couldn't really consistently keep going. So I think I constantly kept wondering how friends or yeah, friendships would have worked out if I would have just been able to show up as I would want to. But I think on the other hand, I was so surprised by how supportive my family was. Like being in Germany, like my parents, they were always there for me. And in the toughest times, I knew I couldn't take a train back to Germany because I would feel horrendous afterwards. But at the same time, I knew at some point I would just need to do it to keep myself going. So I knew I could always come back home and just be with my parents, and they would take care of me and they wouldn't judge. And I think that was something that was really helpful.
100%. Shout out to mum and dad. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's true, having good support it's a real luxury, because not everyone
Mm.
gets that. And I want to just say out loud, it's possible if you don't have good support at home that you can get better, because I've seen it over and over again. But boy, is it nice when you do have that support. So, our hearts go to you if you're not getting support right now, but do know that it's still possible to get better. So there was a chasm period where, you're isolated, you're sick, you're suffering, and you don't know what the hell to do. How the hell did you find CFS Health and myself and the team? Like, how did you even find us?
I think as because I took time, or like I had to quit work. And so suddenly I had all this time on my hand, right? And because I think I'm a bit of a researcher and a scientist, I just got curious, like, what's going on with me, right? Like, I don't know. And I think whenever you put it into Google, it's like, oh, only 25% of people with CFS can actually work, and they mostly work only half time. And we're like, but I don't want this for myself. Like, I mean, of course, if that's what it needs to be, then that's what it needs to be. But I was like, maybe there's another possibility. So I just searched for ways to get out of that, right? And I think just one of the Google like when I put it into Google, it was just CSF Health, and I was like, well, I want to do something. This sounds like a solid approach for something that I could do. It sounds logical. Sense. Let me try this.
Wow, that's cool.
Mm.
How soon did you join the mentorship recovery program from the time that you saw it on Google? Was it fast or?
It's very late. Yeah, I think I used the free resources and they also helped me a ton actually. And I was so appreciative of those being out there for free that I was like, okay, let me try by myself first. Cause I was always horrible at asking for help anyhow. But then yes, so I needed to learn to also be like, you know what, I can't do this by myself.
That,
Maybe let
yeah,
me
never.
join.
Wow, okay, that's cool. I'm stoked that you did the free stuff first. Like, that's always our go-to of like, you know what? Do the free stuff. Like, understand some of the free trainings and our concepts and the frameworks that we do to empower yourself. What made you reach out for help then? If obviously you're a scientist. Scientists don't muck
Mhm.
around, and you guys don't muck around. Um, you want to know you want to know the research, you want to know you want to know all those things, which is great.
Mm.
What made you go? I'm just gonna get help. I'm just gonna reach out to them and get a
Mm.
proper plan and proper support. What was the thing that triggered that?
I mean, the free resources were great and they were working. And I think that's part of why I decided to join because I already saw it working in myself. But it was just this period where I had this issue of whenever I had the flu, I was telling myself I'm getting really bad again. And there's no way I can recover if I always get the flu. And so I just got a really bad flu and I felt like everything was falling apart again, everything that I had worked for. I just went back home to my parents and they gave me a lot of support, but I just felt like I needed to talk to people that understand what's going on. I needed to have the validation and the acknowledgement of people knowing why it's so bad. Because even though my parents could understand or could see what was going on, they wouldn't, you can't make someone that didn't have this understand what it's like.
No.
And I just felt so eternally alone, even though my parents were there for me, that I was like, I want to do something different this time because I can't keep doing this. I can't keep recovering a little bit and then going back and recover a little bit and then go back. It just felt so frustrating and I just became so impatient. And I was like, I need to do something different because otherwise I can't keep going. And that for me was like, I don't care how much money it takes anymore. I just want to talk to people that understand and that can uplift me in those worst days and celebrate when things get better.
chronic fatigue syndrome, when you don't have a plan, is like a merry-go-round of a vicious cycle, and it's not a fun one. You know, it's like, yeah, the thought process is, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. But you kind of want to scream it at the top of your lungs. Um, and the second thing is that I'm so glad you mentioned that is, 90% of the team at CFS Health have had chronic fatigue syndrome and recovered from it. What was that like for you entering the program, knowing that you're meeting all these coaches and mentors and experts who have lived your experience but understand it and are on the other side? What was that like?
It was amazing. It just felt like such a huge weight off my shoulder. It just dropped. It was, I don't know. I think it was on my Kickstarter call that I just realized I'm in the right place. And I think it was the first call that I ever had where I just cried because I just looked at all these faces on this screen being in the same position as me and being in the same spot of also wanting to become better, right?
Yeah.
Because I just felt so connected and I couldn't believe that I I was just sitting with so many like-minded people. And I loved it and I just had to cry so much.
Oh, it was almost like a release of like,
Yes.
can breathe now. Yeah, I'm not alone anymore. Was that the feeling?
Yes, it felt a bit like, okay, I can finally be a passenger princess, you know? I can just sit on the sideline. I can let someone tell me where we're going, and I'm just gonna show up, right? I need to be there, but I can relax.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know this about you. Like, I didn't know this particular nuance part about that part of your journey, but I love that because we in life sometimes we need someone with the stick to say, "Hey, go over there." Like
Mm.
the traffic controllers are like, "Stop, wrong way, turn the other way,
Yeah.
do the detour. The fastest route's this way." It's like Google Maps. It's like a compass.
Yes.
And you just type in this is the destination I want to go. These are my goals. Coaches, how do I get there? You know, how do I
Yes.
navigate this? Yeah, and so that's cool. I didn't know that about you. The passenger princess, I love it, and I just want to be told where to go and what to do. That's smart, right?
Mhm. But I don't know. I always maybe I had so much pride in myself. I just wanna recover by myself. I don't know, I don't wanna need that help, right? But then when you just get that help, you realize that was nonsense. Why would I not ask for help? Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you think you would have? Do you think recovery would have been easy or easier or harder if you hadn't joined? Like, how long do you think it would have? Do you think you would have recovered eventually on your own by figuring it out? I think you would have.
Mm,
I'm curious.
I think it's hard for me to say, but I do think I probably would have recovered. But I also know that the moment I joined, I felt like I had the tiniest string of hope that
Mm,
I would actually still recover. And I felt so hopeless in that time of my life that I'm not because I always felt like I wouldn't recover fast enough. I don't think I really maybe I wouldn't have questioned that I would eventually recover. But for me, it was like I want to recover fast enough for me to actually be happy because I felt so unhappy. And I think I really questioned whether life like that was worth it. And so I probably with maybe moving back home, with making a lot of big changes in my life, I could have recovered. But I'm so much happier the way I recovered now and like the path that I took now.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's pretty crazy, really, if you think about like where you've come from, the speed of recovery, considering how unwell you were. To you're a healthy human being now, and it's just it's so you look. I can say you look great because you do look great and you feel great too.
Right.
Um, yeah, it's one of those things. I think I'm curious to know, what were you surprised at how many nuanced changes are required in through your recovery? Like it's not like a short piece of string that's like it's here and here. Do these three things and you're going to get better. Like, it's a whole proper process, you know, it's a rehabilitation process of everything. Were you surprised at the nuance changes that we had to do together over, you know, a period of 12, 15 months to get you to where you are?
I think so, and I didn't think that mindset would have had such a huge role in that.
Mhm.
Because I think one always says what you think you're gonna follow, or like what your thoughts are gonna determine how you're gonna act. And that was so true. I think once I relaxed and let go and just trusted that it's gonna work out in the end, which was a huge challenge sometimes, like especially when going back. But I also wanna, at least for me, going backwards was part of recovery. Like it's not like you're failing. It's just finding out what doesn't work. And I think it's so important. But I couldn't see that outside of the mentorship, that those setbacks were actually part of my recovery. I just thought, okay, I'm just going back. I'm just getting worse again.
Wow.
But
Yeah, I'm writing down notes here because this is juicy. Um, my question is, and
Mhm.
you've already answered them too. You've already answered two. It's what are three things that help the most inside the program, and I want to talk about them with depth because I think what you're saying is freaking really true and something that is so overlooked. You said number one, trust the process. I had to learn how to trust the process. Tell me what that looked like because it's true. The people who succeed and recover faster are the ones who don't question anything. They go, "Show me what to do. Let me be the passenger. You be the guide. I'll do what you tell me to do, and I'll go and do it." And there's a success story. What's her name? I'll remember it. Blonde lady, Hanny, Hanni. You would love her. I don't know if you ever watched her success story, but she's just like you in the sense of she was just like, you know what, Toby, I'm just going to join. Tell me what to do, and I'll do it. No question. And she recovered within like 9 to 12 months. Like it was a pretty quick turnaround. Yeah, like it was a quick turnaround. Um, for you, how do we trust the process? Like, how did you do it?
I think for me, it had a lot to do with trying to not listen to my brain too much. Um, wh- Whenever I got sick, I had these voices like, "Oh, you're gonna just get so much worse again, and all the work you did was for nothing, and you're gonna be that bad again, and you're gonna lose all those friends again, and you're not gonna be able to do anything again." And eventually, I was just like, "What if that doesn't happen, though? And what if the people that all recovered in the mentorship also went through those things and still recovered, right? What didn't I do like a lot of work? My probably is probably more capable than I think right now because I put in a lot of work and I did eat right and I did keep to my base. I did do all the things that theoretically should work. So why should I not maybe get curious and be like, what if the outcome this time is different? And
Okay.
that was incredibly difficult, but in the end, it helped so much, and I can't believe how much of a difference that made.
Totally. I mean, it makes total sense to me. Do the right things. If I'm doing the right things, why wouldn't it over time work out? I feel like there was a sense of relaxation through this process. Like it wasn't like I feel like you weren't looking at the clock going, "All right, I stuck to my baseline today. Why am I getting better?" You know, or it's been a week. Why? You know, like there was none of that real analytical back and forth. I feel like is that true?
I think it's also because I was maybe already a bit further down the recovery process because I had worked half a year by myself with this. I also feel like my baseline, while it's not my ideal vision of how I'm gonna live, it was good enough for me to be like, you know what, but look where I come from, right? So I think that helped tremendously of not being so focused anymore on like, when am I gonna be better? And I also knew at that point that if I would really want to do specific things, I could adapt them in a way that I could do them without getting worse. Like, even though I wouldn't be able to attend a full event, I could attend it a little bit, focus on the things that I actually want to focus on, and then go home and rest. And just, I think that helped so much. And just not feeling like I am not capable of doing anything. I'm capable of doing the things, but in a different way.
Totally. Number one was trust. trust the process, do the right things. That's important. You said the second thing that I pulled out from the first part that you talked about was you said I just started cutting out things that weren't working for me.
Mm.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I think maybe it was just me figuring out that some ways that I approached recovery were actually not beneficial to me. It was why I think simple things as why do I want to recover, right? I think in the beginning it was just like I just want to get back to my old life as fast as I can. And I think then eventually I realized maybe I don't want to. Maybe I can take away more from this than just getting back to my old patterns that got me here in the first place. So then I also think when you get really sick and you lose a lot of friendships or connections, you also realize those connections wouldn't have stayed for other tough times either. So it wasn't necessarily a process of me cutting out things, but it was also me losing some things and just not wanting to return to them.
Mm, it reminds me of old life, new life,
Yeah, I think so.
right? So, and this is so awesome, and I'm so glad you mentioned it because I've never met a recovery success story who wasn't thankful for the journey.
Mm.
Ever. Like, it's impossible. I literally got a text message from an old client literally 15 years ago. We're very good friends now. She's had kids and she's married. We went to her wedding. It was awesome. She was one of my first 100 clients. And you know, she said, you know, I'm so grateful for it. If it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be who I am today. And there's a juncture point in recovery where you stop trying to chase the old life and go backwards, and instead you kind of just like you're accepted where you're at, and you go, I'm going to build a new life, and I'm going to start building it today. And I feel like that's what you 100% did, which in line then kind of helps with trusting the process too.
Mhm.
Um, and then thirdly, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like it was baseline. It was doing the appropriate thing. Like you mentioned before, I can't go to a full event, but maybe I can go to a quarter of an event, or I can tune into my body and do what's right. Tell me about baseline and how powerful and impactful that was for you.
I think eventually focusing on baseline was always because I loved having the freedom to do whatever I wanted, like in my old life, right? But then I came across this quote, and I think it's from The Handmaid's Tale. It's like, we have freedom to, and we have freedom from. And I feel like baseline gave me the freedom from symptoms. Instead of having the freedom to do whatever I want, I had the freedom to choose not to do the things I want, but at least not have any of the symptoms. And I think at some point I realized that that is a much bigger freedom than just showing up wherever I want to, but feeling horrendous and not being able to enjoy any of the things that I actually wanted to do. So sticking to my baseline and just doing the right things and just being like, maybe today I just need rest and that's okay. And maybe I can make that rest as enjoyable as it can be for me by listening to a podcast, watching a video, I don't know, like learning how to knit, right? Like those things, just you can make rest enjoyable too. And in the end, you get a nice, like you don't have any symptoms. So I feel like that always helped me reassess, do I actually want to do this enough to maybe have to have symptoms afterwards? And I feel like a lot of the times the answer was no.
Mm. Did you have big goals and dreams that you know, we do vision work every year at CFS Health. We do the annual workshop, which you know about. Did you have goals and dreams that you had for the future?
I think you always ask for like the one thing that you want to do, like your North Star, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And I think in my first ever call, I said, oh, I just want to get back to my PhD. I want to finish my PhD. But then I realized that my much bigger goal was actually to go back to hiking because that's something that I wanted to do for myself. I wanted to do like an overnight weekend hike somewhere in Sweden. And that was my North Star for sure. Like that was
Mm.
me just being like, when am I happiest, right? And it's for me when I'm out in nature and I just look around. It's ultimate freedom to me.
Just awesome. I'm in the headquarters right now, and Anina, seen the new headquarters, but right at the back of that says 3 words. Can you read them out? You can read them out.
Choice, freedom, and success.
Yeah. And it makes me super happy that that middle word popped out at you. Because that's
Mm.
what you created, and that's what you create. This is the craziest thing. What you just said was so profound about uh, you can get freedom from or freedom to. That's a brilliant quote. I've never heard it like that. And the fact that,
Mm.
baseline was the framework that enabled you to get freedom from something is just profound, because CFS health stands for choice, freedom, success. And because when you choose a different choice, you create more freedom, and that freedom then ultimately leads to success, which is you hiking in the mountains in Sweden, or surfing, or traveling, or PhDing, or whatever the hell you want to do. Um, and it's so cool to hear it in reality though. Like, it's one thing to, like, oh yeah, they're just words, or, but this is what happens when you do and follow the work and you trust the process, you know? Just absolutely profound. What Where are you at now? Like, just give us a little overview of, like, what's Anina's life like now? Who's Anina 2.0?
Ugh. I'm still doing that PhD, so I guess that stuck. But I feel like I approach it. Yes, I approach it a bit differently now. Maybe. Um, I have a network, a social network around me that whenever I hang out with them, I feel loved. I feel like I'm in the right place, and I just feel so connected. And I think that's maybe the biggest thing that has changed. I mean, I travel around Europe, I think, more often than I would have seen myself to, like from work, but also for going surfing in Portugal, right, as you mentioned, or just flying to Switzerland to go hike. Or there were so many nice like trips last year, which were just
We'll see if we can get some photos up and put them up on this video to showcase it. But yeah, I loved that. The photo of you surfing in Portugal, obviously I'm a surfer, that as well. And there's no better feeling when you're on that surfboard and you're riding the wave, and, it is one of the most ultimate feelings of freedom that you can experience.
yes,
You
for
know,
sure.
yeah.
No, amazing. And yeah, I mean, I've just been trying out loads of new hobbies, like hobbies that have always been on my list. I've been doing ceramics. I've actually made this mug.
Oh, you made? Wow. That's amazing. I would buy it. I've got one at home that looks like that. I'd pay for that.
Or I don't know, going spinning. I think I also shared that in the mentorship, like at 6 a.m. in the morning. I've never been a morning person. I'm not sure I ever will become one, but that morning was amazing. Just spinning class, feeling like riding a high. It was amazing. Yeah, my life is full. I feel so grateful for everything that I have right now.
It's so full. It's so full that it took 5 back and forth email with our general manager Ash to organize this time slot. And I said to you that it's very rare that I'll take an interview on a Friday evening, but because it's you, and we've had such a journey over the last few years. I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna hang out with Annina because we need to hear this story. Um, so I appreciate you coming on and being courageous, and it's just amazing.
No, I'm also very grateful for being here. I think, as I said, I don't know where I would have been without the mentorship. Probably somewhere, but not surfing, maybe not doing ceramics. So
Mm.
I'm eternally grateful for your work.
Thank you. I'm emotional. I get emotional. I'm an emotional person, but getting to witness, the change in individuals like yourself who you just deserve it. Like, it hasn't been easy. It's been challenging at times. There's been weeks and months where it feels like it's, hard and never going to end. And why is it? And why is there more challenges? And your energy and your attitude in a time when you didn't have much energy and it was hard to have a good attitude was always present. And it's really great, and a real sign of who you are as a person to even be a mentor at CFS Health. Now you're part of the mentorship uh, group as a mentor on the advisory there. And, that's a reflection of who you are as a person too, giving back. And, now as a mentor, you get to give back to all the other members who are currently in the program. And, I love your posts, where you're sharing your wisdom and you're sharing your practicality of what you did and how you did it. And maybe try this, and those little actions and insights that you got through your own journey that now you pass on to other people is also pretty profound too. Before we wrap up, I want to ask you two questions. The first one is, if you could share anything you wanted to share with the people who are suffering right now, in the program or not in the program, just generally in life right now, what would you want to say to them? And you can take your time here. Take your time. Like, if you could even think about it for a moment, please do, because yeah, have a real think about it, and whatever comes to you, please share.
I mean, I think first of all, I want people to know that there is a way out and that there is the other side, that it's maybe sometimes difficult to see. I think it's what I needed to hear when I was really, really sick, that there is a way out. Um, and I don't know, I think the other thing is, for me, is it's so important to be connected to people, especially people that go through the same thing. I think it made the biggest difference in my recovery to know people understand me and know people can support me in the way that I need, because they know what it's like. And that it's great to be in that mentorship. It can also be it can be a friend, it can be someone very close to you. For me, sharing what you're going through is important. And I think we all need to reach out more and ask for more help sometimes in very difficult areas or periods of our life. And that can make recovery so much easier and so much, yeah, maybe just easier. It makes a huge difference, I think.
It does. Um, my father always says, "A problem shared is a problem halved."
Mhm.
And you don't know it's true until you share the problem, and it's like it literally halves, and you're like, "Oh wow, God, that actually helps." Just being around like-minded people. It's just so.
Because I feel like once you share it, it's not you against whatever problem you have. Then it's two people against the problem. And
Yeah.
that maybe makes it feel half, because you know someone's with you.
Sometimes you split into more than half, right? If you're surrounded by mentors and expert coaches and hundreds of people around the world in your country, it's almost like it's a warm blanket. You know what I mean? It's a safe space to be. Um, Thank you for sharing. Very, very profound.
Mm.
You're an incredible leader. I'm really excited about your future. I don't know exactly what it's going to be, but I just see you as a real, true leader, sharing a lot of wisdom. Um, so here to support you wherever you want to go, because I just think you're amazing, and I think you're destined to do great things. Um, as we wrap up, there's some people watching this who are either in the program right now or thinking about joining the program, and they have their doubts. They're like, is this going to work? Like, they're not trusting the process, or they're scared of trying something new for the first time because they've done a million different things before, and they're very skeptical, and it's totally appropriate and normal to feel that way. What, what do you want to say to those people?
I had my doubts for probably about like 9 months before.
Tell me about your doubts. I want to hear about it.
I was like, oh, do I really need this? All right, can't I just figure out a way to do it by myself? Why would I want to invest all of this money in myself? Like, it's so much money. I could do so many other things with that money. Yeah. Um, but it's so important to invest in yourself. And I just know the the time when I tried to figure it out by myself and the time in the mentorship, they just felt like two different worlds. And it was worth all of it, all that I gave. It's I think it's worth a try. You have nothing to lose, or I did not have anything to lose. So I was like, well, I might as well, because why would I not? And I think in the end, I could have done it sooner. I could have joined some, and
I
my
don't know if everyone's
been easier for much longer time.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And for the people who are in the program right now, not trusting the process, what do you got to say to that? Because I think there's something special there.
I think maybe we should all lean back and become a passenger princess. You know, what if the driver knows where we're going? Uh, I don't think you need to find the way by yourself if you have so much expertise and knowledge on the other side of the car.
Powerful. Yep.
Mm.
Powerful. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for the invitation on a Friday night.
Yeah, it's dark. I think it's like 7 p.m. Australian Standard Time, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. It's honestly been an absolute pleasure. Like I said, I'm just so grateful for you and all the work that you've done. I'm really excited about your future. I think you got a big bright future ahead of you, and one that's just true for you and authentic, and one that you're just in alignment to, and you're already living it, Anina. And I just think the world is your oyster. So go and conquer, go and conquer. You're already doing it. I appreciate you. Thanks for sharing your story, and we'll speak to
Thank
you
you,
soon.
Toby.
My pleasure.